All right, so I have 12:01. I am going to get us started. I'm certain that we will have people joining us as we go along. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bob Cohen. I'm a SCORE mentor, and I appreciate you sharing your lunch hour with me this afternoon. So um, we have we're working on the third session of Simple Steps for Starting Your Business, and today we're going to talk about marketing. I wanted to talk a little bit about SCORE first, and then we'll talk more about this particular session. We've got the largest network, probably, of free volunteer small mentors, free small business mentors in the nation. So there are some 10,000 volunteers throughout the country that do what we here in Cleveland do. This is the Cleveland chapter of SCORE that we're talking about today. We have about 90 mentors in the Cleveland area. And it says here, no matter what stage your business is at, we've got a mentor that can help you. Sometimes two and sometimes three at the same time, depending on what it is you need to help you get started and to grow or transition your business. So, a little bit about our mission. Our basic mission is just to foster vibrant small business communities through mentoring and education. So part of the education part of this is these workshops that bear with me a sec. I think we're there. Everybody still okay? We still on? I think so. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Any problems? So I think we're good. Okay, good. Thanks, Dan. Good to go. Thanks. All right, let's go back. My apologies. What happened was I don't know why it took so long. Typically, we will do YouTube live, and I set it up that way, but it took that long from 10 minutes ago to get it set up and going. So, um, where was I? Okay, so foster small, vibrant business through communities through education and mentoring, and that's what we do. We put on probably 150 workshops a year. We aim to give every person the support that they need to thrive as a small business owner. And you all know that small businesses drive our economy. At least 50% of what goes on economically here in the US is based on small businesses. So, job creation, wealth building, generational wealth, those are all things that we can help with by helping you to grow your businesses. So we work with the Small Business Administration. We are just kind of a partner with them. And as a result, we get a little bit of money out of them. They help us to continue what we do. And everything we do is free. So whether you utilize our website, whether you utilize a mentor, whether you come to one of our workshops, it is all for free. And that's in part because of them, and also in part because of sponsors that help us to grow our chapter by providing us with funding that helps us to continue our mission. So I want to thank them directly as well. And then we'll talk about the last part of this. And I wanted to show you our SCORE website. So if you want to go to score.org, here is a QR code that you can use. But then I actually wanted to show you in person, live, our website. And I'm going to go there now for just a moment so that I can show you to how to look for a mentor and some of the other resources that are available, again, for free. Um, you know, uh, you see that um, we are cognizant of what's gone on with the hurricanes, and we try to help any way we can, particularly with small businesses. So the hurricanes and the flooding, we've got chapters down in those areas that do help people to recover and move on with their businesses. But what I wanted to show you is a good way or good ways that you could request a local mentor. So, basically you can just go online and it will give you a mentor request form. You fill out that information and let us know in this description box what it is you really need, what questions you might have, and how we might be able to help you. What happens then is that based on your zip code, it will go to, if you're in our chapter area, which is Ashtabula all the way to Huron and Erie counties on the west side. There's seven counties that we serve. If you're in our county area, it will come to us. They will select a mentor that best helps you best based on your description of what you're looking for. Our mentors generally will contact you within 48 hours. Sometimes weekends it takes longer, but all in all, that's kind of our standard for looking at bringing mentors and clients together to get set up to go. And I'm just going to go back one here. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can actually browse profiles and you can select a mentor directly. And those are ways that you can do that. You might find a mentor that's got a profile that fits what it is you're looking for. That might be a great way to find somebody as well. And there's also ways that we'll match you up. So, go on, take a look, work your way through this website. Some pretty good information. Template galleries, so you can find various kinds of business planning templates, financial templates, up to and including ways to utilize those templates, some instructions, some articles, tools, templates, and workshops that are all available for you free. So take a look at that. I'm just going to hit here and then we're going to move on. So you can go to our workshop and events. You can take a look at the courses that are there. We record everything. So if there's anything that you want to go back and take a look at, it's available online. We also have a YouTube channel, which we're recording on right now. So there's a lot of great courses. If you're starting a brand new business, take a look at the Startup Roadmap. It really is a great guide. It walks you through everything you need to know. All right. And if you're already an experienced business person, you might be an entrepreneur that's got some success under your belt. Why don't you consider volunteering with us? We are always looking for new mentors. That's all I'm going to say right now about SCORE. Let's move back on to our actual workshop for today. So I know that most of you have been in, or some of you, I should say, have been in the previous parts of this series. So session 1, Startup Basics, we really just talked about what it took to become an entrepreneur, what you need to think about. Session 2, that was done a week ago, actually talked about developing your business concept to a point where you've got something that you can articulate. And then chapter 3, which is what we're going to go on today, or session 3, is marketing planning. And if you've been involved in the first 2 sessions, you'll know that we are working with Anne's Nursery. It's a kind of a fictional nursery that we're using as a case study. And the reason we took that is there's a lot of application that you'll see in what we're talking about vis-a-vis Anne's Nursery and your own businesses. So this is going to give you an opportunity to make a go or no-go decision with your business plan or your idea or your concept. Obviously, you want to keep going and you want to continue working through your business plan, but one of the things I would recommend, and I may mention it more than once in the next couple of slides, is to consider working with a mentor that can help you develop the concepts and the marketing plan and your financials, and even help to find funding options. Now, SCORE is not a funder, but we work directly with many, many funders, both banks and in some cases, funders that work on grants and things like that. Now, it's not easy to get those at a beginning stage of your business. So, we'll talk about that in session 5. But session 4, as you can see, we're actually going to talk about how to put together your financials. So the one thing I did want to tell you is that we are talking about the things that we talk about are at a high level and have been simplified to a point where it's just easy to grasp and understand. That said, that there's a whole lot more to putting your business together than than what's here. So we've got a 40,000, 50,000 foot view, and it is talks in some cases in generalizations, and in some cases is simplified. But all of that said, there is a lot of good information in this series to help you and to give you examples of things you can think about. So in session one, we passed Anne's nursery, and you'll see that I've got these links directly into the slide presentation. Also, you will be getting an email after this that should have both the presentation, the recording, and should have these links in here. So if you hadn't gotten Ann's nursery or legal forms of business or vision statement or small business readiness assessment, etc., those are available in links to you. So session one, session two, session three. All right, let's get on with this workshop. So the benefits of the workshop are to help you develop your business plan. Okay, again, I mentioned that we're doing this at a 40,000 foot view of doing that, but it helps to take you at least through the decision-making process. And it gives you some information that you can utilize to help you make a go or a no-go decision about your idea if you're thinking it through. And, I would say that when you begin thinking through your idea, whether you think you've got a great idea or not, don't look at it at an emotional level, but look at it at a analytical business level to make sure that you're not going out on a limb for something that's not going to work for you. So this is also going to give you some key direction to get yourself started. So the first thing we're going to go through, and I'll do very quickly, is a homework review. We'll talk about competition, which is really important, and I can't stress that enough, to understand what your competitors are doing and to even look to see if you've got competitors, and to do what you can to analyze what your competitors do. Okay, and that includes product and service descriptions, your products, pricing strategy, and target markets, various channels that they work in, as well as what channels and target markets you will work in. We'll talk about some marketing strategies to reach your customers, and again, at a very high level. We do various marketing workshops that give you much more specific and direct ideas on how to do your marketing. We'll talk a little bit about a marketing message, talk a little bit about some sales basics, and then I've got some homework for you to do. And obviously, that the homework is optional. I would recommend at least that you take a look at the forms and formats that you get, because the homework that you do is actually going to be the foundation of putting together your business plan. So let's move right along. So homework review, you were going to do some business concepts that you were going to talk about. What your business ideas are, what your personal background is, industry profiles, target markets, and as you can see down here, other key factors. This is the basics of your business plan right here. This is the beginning of it. So business concepts, understanding competitor data, what are their pricing, what are their features and benefits, um, what is there? I got to get closer because it's small. Sales and profitability, and what is their marketing strategy. Now, so the stuff along the left here is just, again, just kind of high level. You can get much deeper into looking at your competitors than what's here. So the nice thing about these forms are that they are in Word, and you can actually adapt them and change them, make changes on that left-hand column. It might be price, it might be other things, it might be service. So if you've got, and by the way, I'm going to be talking about products. I'll be talking about service, business to business, and business to consumer, which is more or less like retail, and things like that. So I'm going to try and cover everything that it is that you do from a small business perspective by means of, you'll see as I go through it. So when you're talking about competition, what you really want to understand is what their features and benefits of their offering are, okay, and including thinking through what yours are. What's your value proposition? What is their value proposition. When I talk about features and benefits, what I'm talking about is, I'll give you an example of a feature. A feature is I'm sitting here in an HP laptop, and that laptop's got a certain amount of memory, it's got a certain amount of storage, it's got certain kinds of graphic cards and things like that. Those are all features. Okay, you can quote those by looking at numbers. You can look at features of a washing machine based on the size of the drum, the number of cycles it can go through, and all that. But the benefits are what's important both to you and to your customers or clients. The benefits are by virtue of the features that I just gave you about my laptop. What are the benefits of those things? Helps me be faster, helps me download things quicker, helps me be more efficient. I can go on and on and on about what the benefits are, but that's what it is that your customer or your client is going to want to know about. Same thing with with a laundry um, uh, washer. It's quicker. It takes a bigger load. It makes life easier. However you say those benefits, that's what's going to be important. So pricing strategy is something that we'll talk a little bit about as it relates to how Anne thought through her pricing strategy. And then your sales size, we need to consider that, your marketing strategy, and your business model and the efficiency of how you're planning to work. So you're also going to look at your competition the same way. All right. Now, this is specifically a competitive comparison, but you need to have something to compare it to, and that is your business. So the handout is here. And again, this gives you an opportunity to be flexible. You may have more than, I've got 3 competitors here, but you're looking at your business, your competitor 1, competitor 2, competitor 3, 4, 5, and 6 if you've got that many, or 1 or 2 if you've got that many. All right. But the things you want to look at is their features and benefits, their pricing strategy, and I'll give you some quick ideas on pricing strategy. Are you the low end provider price wise? Are you in the middle of the pack price wise? Are you the high end provider price wise? And there's a place for each one of those things, and no one of those is incorrect. It's just a matter of how you develop your pricing strategy and who your competitors are in that target market. Hopefully that's clear. And then what your products and sales mix are, or size mix, I should say. And then your marketing strategies, their marketing strategies, and business model. Now, the way this was done for this particular session and for the marketing for simple steps, we kept it extremely simple and maybe overly simplified, but a way for which you can look at these comparisons. So here you see Anne's in green, competitor A, B, and C. And basically, she's used pluses or 0 or minuses to kind of look at that. And this is to help you make a decision in terms of, are you in the right place? Are you working with your competitors? Or I should say, are you working strongly against your competitors? Do you understand your competitors? So Anne took a look at her features and benefits. Now, if you had an opportunity to read the Anne's Nursery business plan, you'll see that she's very specifically listed benefits and features. And she knows because she's talked to 3 other competitors, or she at least has studied 3 other competitors, that this one, competitor A, is kind of neutral. This one's not as strong as she is, and this one is not as is also neutral. So she's got 2 pluses here. But then she looked at pricing, and remember, don't look at this emotionally, look at this analytically. So she looked at pricing in the markets that she's looking at and her competitors. She's neutral. Competitor A is higher. Competitor B is neutral, and C is neutral. Okay, so what you might want to consider, if this person or this competitor is higher, why? Do they bring value that's higher than the value that Anne is bringing vis-a-vis features and benefits, other marketing tools, things like that. What value do they have that might make it worthy of them requiring a little bit higher price? So that's something you want to study in some detail. Size and product mix, or product mix and size. So product mix is primarily, as it relates here, is to retail. But you can also look at service and services mix. And so if you're a business to business, if you're a provider, let's say professional services like an architect, or physician's office, what services are you offering? What products, and I'm saying here services, that you are competing with against your competitors. So here, Anne is neutral here, a little less in terms of her competition, and that might be, the reason why they can command a little bit higher price, because they have got um, maybe they can't, maybe they're a little less actually, so maybe they're not justified in having a higher price. Well, when you think about doing an analysis, what they call a SWOT analysis, I'll talk about that in a minute. Um, you're looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This may actually be an opportunity for Anne, in that this competitor is priced higher, but features and benefits neutral here, product size and mix negative here. So that might give Anne an opportunity to compete really strongly with competitor A. Competitor B, neutral in terms of size and mix. Competitor C, their product size and mix is much stronger, it looks like, than everybody else. Yet their pricing is similar, and their features and benefits are about the same. So, I mean, you got to analyze those things fairly close. Market strategy, Anne looked at the marketing that's being done by A, B, and C, and you can see what she decided with that. And then basic business model. And business model basically is how you are doing business with your customers or your clients. You know, type of service you're providing. Is it direct service? Is it indirect? Are you online? All those kinds of things. Are you strictly getting your work through websites? So the business model, is something that's important to look at. You can see what she's done here, and so this says this is what customers think about Anne's business compared to what they think about Anne's competition. Now, this is what Anne read into what the information she has at hand, and she put that together. But when you think about your products and services, I mentioned benefits. Are there any special benefits? And if you read through Anne's business plan, you saw that she's got a price back guarantee that the products that she sells, the plants and things like that, will have a guarantee. That's a special benefit. Unique features. I think she talks about the fact that these are a little bit more exotic plants than you can get elsewhere. Limits and liabilities, and that means limits and liabilities to her. So if she's giving back a product, a guarantee, it's a liability if she, in fact, is spending more money guaranteeing those than it costs her to actually, or that she actually makes, that she charges. How strong are your suppliers? Can you get what you need when you need it? Can you get the right pricing and things like that? Those are all things that you want to think about. And then, do you have any special intellectual property or permits? Okay, so if you've got what they call IP, intellectual property, you might have a patent, you might have a special process, you may be certified by a specific type of organization that gives you a leg up on your competitors. So there is another handout called product and service description, and we're going to talk about that right here. So your business name, products and ideas and services that you're doing. And you've probably already fleshed a lot of this out by this time. Your special benefits, your unique features, all the things that I just mentioned in the previous slide, and then limits and liabilities, production and delivery, your suppliers, et cetera, and your intellectual property. You should outline those there, and that's available on one of the handouts that I showed you prior to us getting into the actual presentation. So I'm watching time. I want to make sure that we get everybody out of here by 1 p.m. So far, so good. So pricing strategy, you really want to understand the market. So, depending on your business, you're going to be in a local market, potentially even in a small neighborhood. If you've got a service business, you will have target clients in a specific area. It could be, it could be national, it could be local, it could be, right close by, but you want to understand what their strategies are. Again, I mentioned high price provider, middle price provider, low price provider. And I'll give you some examples before we get into considering the channels and how we get to them. But pricing strategy, if you're looking at a low price provider, you might find that somebody like let's talk about the hotel industry because it's an industry I understand pretty well. You might go to a let's say a Holiday Inn Select, okay, and that's kind of a low price, middle price provider. There are certainly lower price providers in the way of hotels that are out there. And so, you need to look at what services they do, what their products look like, and what their pricing levels are. And then let's go to something kind of in the middle in the way of hotels. It might be, we call these upscale hotels, but it's in the middle pricing wise and fairly competitive. You might look at a Marriott, you might look at a Hyatt, you might look at, a Sheraton, and let's say those are in the middle. They need to understand what their offerings are and why they're in the middle and how they price to their clientele. And then let's look at, let's say, a Four Seasons, which is a very, very top end of the luxury brands of hotels. They have the highest prices, where you might pay 125 to 150 for Holiday Inn Select, and you might pay 200, 250 for a Marriott. You might pay $1,000 minimum for a Four Seasons. Those are the three pricing tiers that I just talked about, and you need to look at what comes along with those. Now, doesn't mean being a low price provider, you can't be the most profitable because if you take a look at these companies, you'll see that of all of them, probably the mid-price providers are doing very well. The low-price providers are doing very well. The high-price providers, while they make money, it costs them a whole lot more money to actually operate, so their profitability may be lower. But that's how you want to look at it. You want to understand what your profitability is. You want to understand if you've got some value adds, which you can actually command a little bit higher price for. Channel considerations, we'll talk about that in a minute. And then, some ways of looking at your costs. So if you're going through and you're developing financials, you might want to look at how you're charging either for your product or your services. Are you marking up costs? Are you bundling services together for one price where customer gets multiple services? Again, in the travel agency business, a travel agent might have a tour that's going on that's providing airfare, hotel, food and beverage all at the same time for one price. You unbundle those, and the unbundling of those might show that the price for each of those services might be a little bit higher than the actual bundle when you look at it in aggregate. So those are things that you want to think about when you're putting together your pricing. And then what types of promotions that you're going to be doing. So let's talk very quickly and then we'll move on. So your initial price, you want to look at your cost of materials. You always want to make sure that you're getting profit where you can. Okay. No matter what else you're doing in your business, you want to make sure that you are charging for your time as well as all the services, all of the costs that it takes for you to get to a point where you're profitable. If you're not profitable or you're losing money, your prices are too low. And I see very often particularly, some retail businesses. I've got small little manufacturers and things like that where they're pricing too low and they're not really making back the money. They're not really even charging for their own labor. So very small businesses a lot of times are in that position where you are not making enough money to pay for the costs of actually making your items or providing your services, and you're losing money. So you also want to look at your competition one more time. You know, is there demand for the product? Okay, and you should have gotten through that probably with the previous session. Compared to your competition, look at their pricing. So, excuse me. So there's no reason why you couldn't either go out online and look at a competitor's pricing, or there's also no reason why you couldn't actually call your competitor and, pretend you are a customer, find out what they do, how they do it. There's all kinds of ways of doing that without actually doing anything illegal or immoral. You can do that. So now, let's just talk about some low price provisions. If you do set your price too low, then you potentially could disrupt the marketplace. So you want to make sure that you are at that level where you're not in a price war. And it's a whole lot that goes along with setting up that and getting into a price war. But you want to make sure that your new business doesn't suffer. A lot of times I've got clients that will go out and purposely underprice their competitors to pick up a piece of business. Well, you shouldn't sell on pricing alone. Okay. I've been in a business where my competitors were always out there nipping at our tail in terms of offering, and we worked on higher commissions to our clients, and it ended up hurting him. It ended up making their labor costs much higher, but it also ended up putting their own business at jeopardy. We refused to work on pricing alone. We always worked on how our value affects that client, what our products and services did to help that client, what values they got out of the benefits of what we put together, or what benefits they get out of the features that we put together. That's a better way to sell your products, your services, than on price alone. If you think about it, and think about, let's say, the um, um, gas providers that provide gas for your house. Okay. They're always trying to match their competition prices. They're always trying to price lower. If you do that, you become a commodity, and that's something that you need to be careful of. And that's what they are. They're strict commodities. You buy the same gas, whether you pay $1 for it or 75 cents for it. So where are you going to shop? You're going to shop 75 cents. Does that help you grow? Not necessarily. So here's an opportunity for you to write your pricing strategy on a piece of paper that can give you the opportunity to look at it and think it through. And I want to talk a little bit now about some channels. Okay. So business to business, or we call it B2B, producers and distributors that go to retail through a supply chain, producers and retailers to a final customer. That's business to consumer, or sometimes direct to consumer through the internet. That's still business to consumer, but it's a different model. And associate networks for services. And by that, I mean that you might find distributors that will take your product and sell it on your behalf. That's an associate network. Just another way to get your product out. So you want to think about who you're selling to. And we'll talk again more about channels in a minute, but what your channel position is, okay? And when you begin to identify target markets, you want to understand your customer. What is your customer's profile, okay? What are their key demographics? What is their income level? What is their gender? What geographic location do they live in, or do they market in, or do they work in? and buying habits and behaviors, what the market size is, what the realistic penetration for you to work in that market is. That market growing or declining? And if you did industry research through the last workshop that you were on before this one, you will have looked to see if the market is declining or growing. And if you're going into a declining market, the possibilities of you declining along with them really exist. If you're going into a growing market, that growth potential is there. If you're going into a market and you have the ability to take a declining market and come up with a new business model that actually has some ideas on growth for that market, that's not a bad way to go either. So those are things that you want to look at. And there's a handout on market research that you want to take a look at. Now, we do a workshop on marketing basics, which goes into this in a whole lot more detail, particularly when you're looking at customer profiles and demographics and how to target your markets. So, you want to, if you get a chance to get on one of those are always good. Two or three of the other marketing programs that we do are quite good as well. So you're going to do the same thing here. You are going to look at target market 1, target market 2, 3, and 4, and you're going to look at channel position. And I'll explain that in one moment. Your key demographics, who are you selling to? Who are your targets? Okay. And what are their buying habits? And what is the market size? And what is your potential share? Now, again, this is overly simplified. You could take that left-hand column and expand it, 3 times what's here if you want to go into a lot of detail about your target markets. Okay, and you might want to do that. And again, here's a place to work with a SCORE mentor. So let's talk about what Anne did. And again, you can go back to that business plan and some of these things that are in the handouts. So her channel position, the people she's selling to are producers and retailers, okay, in a local nursery. So that's her target. She's targeting local nurseries, distant nurseries, local gardeners, internet gardeners. Those are 4 areas where she believes she can sell her products, okay? And she wants to sell to producers and retailers in the local nursery business. And she wants to sell to producers and retailers at distant nurseries. So you'll see, or maybe you've already seen, that her local nursery market is, she identified 200 nurseries in and around her business. Okay, so she's got a nursery. She's growing on a couple hundred acres of property that she owns. If you'll read the intro to her business plan, she talks about that. And so she can sell to retailers and producers. So local nurseries primarily buy stuff out from, that some produce their own stuff, but the type of stuff that she's producing herself is different than what most of those local nurseries do. Hers is a little bit more exotic type of a plant. So while a local nursery may buy retail, wholesale and bring stuff in, they may also produce their own stuff. Same thing with the distant nurseries. It's pretty much the same thing. Local gardeners, those are consumers. And where she's located, she's got access to a bunch, okay? Especially some of the higher end, as you can see here, consumers that want to be able to utilize her products, her plants and such. Internet gardeners, this is a whole nother channel. So she can reach them by setting up a website, doing all the stuff from a marketing perspective that it takes to get people to go to her website and then ultimately buy from her website. So the distant nursery is different. Distant nursery might be nurseries in and around the country that she can identify, that she might be able to set up a contract with to actually sell her plants, and she would ship to them. That's a whole nother issue in terms of this. Again, this is way oversimplified, but the concept is there and the concept is good. So she's looking at key demographics. So channel position we talked about. The key demographics are she's looking at nurseries that have somewhere between a million and 30 million in sales. Same thing at the distance nursery. She's looking at gardeners that garden at a higher end and that have high end experience and probably more importantly, and it's not here, have the ability to pay for the material that she grows. Buying habits, they're looking for these local nurseries to have trust of the product and the personal connection. Now, if you read Anne's nursery, you'll see that she has already had, she's well known in the community. She's got a PhD in horticulture. She knows a lot of the local nurseries out there already. That's a great way to build trust in the product personalization and connection. Same thing here. There won't be a connection per se, but she needs to develop and build the trust with her products, and that the pricing here needs to certainly fit within the pricing of what these distant nurseries will be able to bring in and make money from, including a profit for Anne. Okay, so here's another way to look at the local gardeners, local reps. She might have available pricing is going to be an issue. Local reps, meaning that she's got people that can actually talk to the local gardeners. And I know her products will be available as well. And then reputation and delivery for internet gardeners, because the last thing you want is to get dinged in a survey because you are not either delivering what you say you're going to deliver, when you say you're going to deliver, or the quality of the product that you're going to deliver. And then she looks at market size and market share possibilities. Okay, now there's a lot of ways to get to what your market share is, but when you're a startup business, it's going to be guessing based on the number of businesses that you're competing with and what the total market size is. You can make an estimate. I'm assuming Anne did here. These are educated estimates because she, at least we know she knows the local nursery market. Okay. So she's saying that there are 200 local nurseries, each of which could spend up to $50,000 with her. And when you look at the total the total market is based on total sales times the number of nurseries that are out there. And then she's figuring that her share of the total is $50,000 times 200 nurseries, thinking her share of the total market is 5%. Now, I can't guarantee that's right, but it's here as an example of a way to think through what your market size is and what the share of your market is based on the share of dollar that you can bring in from that market. So distant nurseries, you can see she's got 1/10 of a percent is her market share, and that may be pretty good, pretty solid. Okay, here she's looking at local gardeners being $500,000 in total, and she's putting her share at around 5%. And then the internet gardener, she's going to do this on websites. 2 million, times 100, I guess, internet gardeners that she's going to deal with. And she's thinking that her share is going to be about 1/5 of a percent. And we can do some math backwards, forwards, and upside down. But you got to remember, I had a boss that used to say, liars figure and figures lie. So you've got to be very careful when you start figuring these out, particularly if you're going to take this to a bank. So let's talk about some target markets, just some general description. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly so we save some time to talk about some other things going forward. We've got about another 15 minutes. I want to take some Q&A if there is any. So we'll go through this going as fast as we need to make the points work. So your target markets, no matter what you do, your target markets are going to be the most important thing that you can come up with and figure out who you're selling to. Again, it could be local, it could be a neighborhood, it could be, it could be a city, it could be regionally, it could be statewide, it could be national, it could be Northeast Ohio. But you really want to understand who is out there that would buy your product or your service, how many of them are out there, what the size of that market is. Those are all things that your mentor can help you with as well as on your own. And I know that we mentioned that there's a fair amount of really good, valuable research material through, the Cleveland Public Library as well as Cuyahoga and some of the other um, um, in, local libraries that would be able to help you. And some of the good business libraries will actually have librarians that can help you figure that out. So your demographics is going to be extremely important. Is it an age group? Are you selling to women? Are you selling to a particular racial profile? And I don't mean that in a negative sense, but there are certain profiles that might buy certain things that you want to do. So if you look at me, I'm a white male in my 70s. That's different than somebody that might be buying products that are specifically designed for a specific racial group. Let's say younger men or women in those groups that are really important for you to understand what their buying habits are, where they hang out in terms of social media, where they get their information, so the tighter you can come up with a profile on your buyer, the better off you are in terms of being able to figure out how to reach them. So that's important in targeting. Key needs versus your product and services. Are you solving a problem? Are you bringing something to market nobody else has? Do you have a product that is unique? All those things that you want to take a look at, and you want to be able to say, hey, if you are just somebody out there that's got a camera and you call yourself a photographer, what differentiates you from anybody else out there with a camera that can call themselves a photographer? And I know that somewhere along the line we may have discussed the barriers to entry for businesses. That's something you want to consider as well. It's not something that's right here, but barrier to entry means how easy is it for somebody else to get into the same business and compete with you? The lower the barrier to entry, the higher your competition is going to be. Vice versa, the higher your barrier, the higher the barrier to entry is, the less competitors you're going to have. So take a look at somebody like, and the example is extreme, but somebody like, um, I don't know, Amazon. Okay. Yeah, while they've got some competitors out there, you couldn't build Amazon's business without millions and millions and millions of dollars if you wanted to be a startup. So that's a high cost to entry. That's why fewer competitors. But again, my camera example, I have a camera, some good lenses. I'm not a bad photographer. I can go out there and call myself a photographer and start taking on, businesses, portraits, whatever. And the cost of entry is fairly low. That means I'm going to have a lot of competitors. So again, cost versus profit, you need to consider that. What will your market pay for what you do? Is there enough profitability in it for you to make money? Size and estimate of your potential market penetration. We talked about that in session 2, so I'm not going to go into it in any detail. Target market comparison. Are you filling the target customer's needs? Are you more profitable? And again, when you start looking at your channels, you want to consider your channels. Is one channel more profitable or lower than the other? Can you create more sales? Is there any channel conflict? Okay, we'll go back to that in a minute. Is there a favorable competitive environment? In other words, are you a niche product that nobody else has? Are you able to find something that is really well needed and liked and provide that? And does what you're doing fit your vision and skills? And we went into that earlier sessions, so I'm not going to do that. But what I will show you is a target market comparison, and then we're going to talk about the channel conflicts that are possible. So let's go to this. So Anne did the same kind of thing here. She looked at the need, and it looks like all of her channels All of her target markets, local nursery, distant nursery, local nursery, and internet gardening, all have a need. Okay, that's good. Okay, profitability. Let's look at this for a minute. She thinks that the local nurseries are going to be most profitable for her. Distant nurseries are neutral, and local garden, it looks like there's some profitability there as well as internet gardener. Now let's look at sales and let's look at her strengths there. Local nurseries for sure, distant gardeners for sure, a little bit less here, and the internet gardener, oh, not too bad. And then is there channel conflict? She actually analyzed these channels to see which ones, if any, might have a conflict. And look what she's got here. She's got a conflict in local gardener. Whoops, sorry. And the reason she has that is because after analyzing this, and I think you might see it if you read Deanne's nursery recap, um, when you look at this, while the profitability might be high, the sales are not, okay? Because if you remember, it was a $500,000 market, and she had 5% of it. So sales weren't great. But here's the worst part of it, and maybe the reason she got out. Local gardeners and local nurseries would have been a conflict of interest, so to speak, for her. In other words, those local gardeners should be buying from the local nurseries. If they're buying from Anne, then that is a disruptor and potentially, as I said, conflict of interest. Those local nurseries, if they found out that she's selling to the same customer as they are selling to, would cut her off at the knees, in my opinion, and would, no longer buy from her. So that's a risk. So if you read the rest of the business plan, she decided not to stay in this channel, but she did stay in the others. So let's talk about messaging. And again, this is very overly simplified, but you can get the picture of what she went for. A concise message fulfills the target's customer needs, quality, price, availability, all those things we talked about earlier, and clearly identifies a unique key feature. This could be, features and benefits, etc. Benefits, in my opinion, are stronger than features. Features are good in some circumstances, but benefits are stronger because the customer wants to know what's in it for me, and that's where benefits help. Um, can be consistently communicated in all of your marketing material. So when you think about your messaging that you're going to get to your market, you want to be consistent everywhere you go, whether it's social, whether it's online, whether it's print ads or radio or any kind of digital marketing that you might do. You want that message to be consistent because you want to be recognized by that message. There's some subtle things that you can do here that are different, but all in all, and based on your audience, but all in all, you want to keep the message very, very similar. So here's Anne's marketing message. Again, overly simplified, but you'll get the picture from it. So Anne's Nursery offers discerning growers and gardeners, that's her target, high quality ornamental trees, shrubs, and vines, backed by well-known horticulturist Anne Murphy. A 1 year money back guarantee to grow and extend plant care. And she's got documentation that actually talks about how to use and plant and grow her products. So that's, something. So very quickly, again, this is way oversimplified, but these are some possible methods that you want to do. And depending on your business, there's old school and new school, but bottom line is that you go where you know that you can reach the right target audience. And it all goes back to that target and understanding what media they look at. So again, take a look at me. I'm a white old male. Okay. I read newspapers. I am lucky enough that I'm fairly um, technology savvy, but most of my contemporaries are not. So they might read newspapers, get radio, newspapers, magazine, direct mail. Okay. Other things that are important, you know, do you live in the suburbs? Does your target fit what I'm doing? So if in fact you match what I just described about myself, then you don't necessarily want to be on Twitch or X or other things like that. You might want to do your advertising in places you're going to find me reading. Okay. Public relations, which is a totally different animal, but that reaches everybody if you're doing it properly. And you should probably look at public relations as a great way to get your word out for free. It's a whole series of ways to do that. Collateral, print collateral, flyers, business cards, and things like that. If you need it, you need it. If you use a digital business card because you're working with people that are much more into that, then that's a certain way to go. If you understand search engine optimization, social media, marketing content, and other things, that's digital. But you need to understand who is going to go to the sites that you are preparing to work on from a digital perspective. And, I always say, as simple as this, you got to fish where the fish are. Because if you don't, then you are not going to see any fish or catch any fish. And then on top of that, you got to have the right bait. And if you don't have that, that's not going to work either. So, lots of ways to go in terms of methodology and tools that you can use for marketing. And this is just a very small smattering. Again, 40,000 feet. So, consolidate all of your components into a concise marketing plan. Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes left. Understand your channels, look at your costs. You might want to look at marketing costs on what it's going to cost you to do some of the things that I just showed you in the prior slide. And you can go ahead and put together a little bit of a marketing plan. And this is a financial plan. So Anne did this. She, again, overly simplified, but she looked at one-time expenses. So she needs to grow samples. She needs to be able to get stuff to distant retailers for them to set up displays. And then she knows that she's got to put together a website and pages that people can shop on. So as you'll notice, there's only 3 channels here now. Okay. She looked at her expenses. She looked at what it would take from a labor perspective. And if you add these all together, it looks like it's one full-time person doing all this stuff. Half a person here, a quarter of a person here, a quarter of a person here. Overly simplified, but that's the way she looked at it, and she priced that. So here's a way that you might find a marketing budget template that not only, and the reason I like this is it literally almost lists every possible way you can reach a client, and then you can look at it on a 12-month basis or a quarterly basis, and you can start putting in your costs of any of these. So what I like about this is here it talks about brand development, it talks about public relations, it talks about advertising, it talks about websites and getting in, being interactive. Market research if you're going to do that. All kinds of stuff that would give you a whole list of what it might cost. And the way this works that once you drop your pricing in, it will add them up on a quarterly basis and ultimately on an annual basis. So I'm not going to go into any detail on that because it's 1 o'clock and I think we're through. I just want to go to the last slide and go back to where we were. So the business plan outline that you'll work on is we've done your business idea. You needed to refine it. Look at your product and service offering. Look at your pricing strategy. Look at your competitive markets and your target markets. This is your homework. And then look at your marketing strategy to reach customers. Keep it simple now. You can always expand it later. So, we talked about all these things. I just talked to you about the homework. I just want to show you that what we're going to be doing next week is called Financial Matters. And we were literally going to start looking at how Anne put together her financial plan, but how you can do the same thing. And we will give you templates to do that for the next session. And then the last session is funding options. What's out there? Where can you go to find funders? We'll talk about that as well. Just want to see now if there are any questions. Let me take a quick look at the chat and the Q&A. So let me go to Q&A first. Can we find this on the SCORE website? Yes. Ashley, you can find this probably recorded on the SCORE website under workshops, recorded workshops, and it's probably available. You will also be receiving a copy of this and the slides, so you'll get a recording of what we just did. So that's one question answered. Let's take a look at the other. I got 6 in the queue, so let's see where we're at. And your office is fantastic. I like that. Thank you. Let's see what else is here. Mostly confirmations of can you hear me? So I had a problem getting into this. Denise, if you had a problem getting in, would you send me an email and let me know what that was? I don't think I put my contact information up there, but it is Robert.Cohen, Cohen, at SCORE, volunteer, all one word, .org. And let's see, I've got 5 new messages. Yes, the spreadsheet that I showed you is in the handouts that you should get. And I think, do I have any new ones? I have another Q&A. Yeah, so the annual marketing budget template would be in the resource material I showed you. If you go to, let me just share the website with you very quickly, and that'll show you exactly where it is. Um, and I think, all right, so if you go to, let me pull it up live. Templates and resources. You click on that, and there's other marketing plan information available too. You can go to the template gallery, or you can actually type in here what you're looking for. It may or may not get so startup financial. I've already put some of this stuff in here. Market plan templates. And I probably I spelled it wrong. Come on. Here you go. So you get a lot of them. Marketing plan template, business plan template, a small business holiday marketing masterclass. This is a recording. All these are recorded, not only the local ones, but national as well. So there's a lot of good ones. So here's how to write a marketing plan for your small business. It's a recorded webinar. I suggest you all go on these, but again, you can go into the template, and basically what you end up doing is once you click on it, there's download the template, and it'll give you a PDF. I think a PDF. It could be Word as well, but nonetheless, that's the way to do that. Let's see if I answered everything. I think I got those. So let me look at one more, and I think I'm at the end of the chat as well. If I missed anything, feel free to email me. On the other hand, I really appreciate you joining me this afternoon. It's 1:05, 5 minutes late, not bad. I appreciate you joining me, and I look forward to you all coming to other workshops as well in the near future. So take care, and